Hello and I boo boo. Welcome to my channel. My name is Priestess Rose, aka Mambo Rose. I am a Haitian voodoo high priestess, a Mambo Asogwe. Today I bring you some stories that have been told to me primarily by my mother from Haiti. I've told these stories on TikTok and now I'm bringing them all to YouTube for you in one video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe so I may continue to bring you guys spooky stories from the land of Haiti. Boo boo. Let's just say one of the creepiest because we got stories for days. When I was very young, one night back in Haiti before I moved to the United States, my friends, cousins, and I were playing outside. Kids don't play outside after a certain time in Haiti. But I was very young and really didn't understand why. One night we were playing out a little later than we should have, and all of a sudden we could hear humming coming from a distance. Along with the humming, we can hear feet stomping in rhythm. This specific feet stomping and humming was actually known very well. Kids would know the names and would know to stay away from them and come inside at a certain time, but the adults knew exactly the true nature. These are what we call sambrel. Somehow I got very distracted by the humming and stomping. I didn't even realize that every single kid had went inside. I don't even know how long I was staring and watching them come closer and closer to me. All I know is I was standing there long enough for them to come close enough to me for me to be able to describe what they look like. The fact is, their faces were completely covered under a white sheet, a white hood, and I didn't even know where the stomping was coming from. I couldn't even tell if they had any feet or not. And that could have been due to all the dust that the stomping was making. All of a sudden, something snapped me out of it and I realized everybody else was gone and I was completely alone. I could hear a voice telling me to wake up, to move, to run, to walk, to just go. When I finally got home, I told my parents what I had seen and they told me exactly what they were. And even though they say, "Simpran ti moun ma plage ou, simpran gran moun plop plop," if I've captured a child, I will let them go. If I captured an adult, well, let's just say there is no letting go. That will always stay with me because I realized that night I came seriously close to something that in all culture is considered very, very dangerous. And like Haitian people generally really don't fuck with cats, especially my dad. And if you knew why, you would understand too, because the amount of cats, of loups that my father had to chase away to keep us where we are now, alive, yeah, you would hate them too. The stuff that we've seen growing up as children and the stuff that they've had dealt with and seen growing up and still to this day, yeah, you would actually not fancy them as well too. Father used to wake up in the middle of the night and chase them on top of our metal roof. Like you could hear them stomping and making noise on top of the metal roof. And no, I don't mean just cats. I mean loups. People who have been turned into something that is less than human or more than human and can transform into cats. And especially black cats because they blend in with the darkness of the night. Luga will only come out at night to come and do harm to your children. So they need to be able to be flexible to squeezing into tight places to come into your homes. Oh, and oh yeah, so they fly and land on top of your roof or climb on top of your roof and then sneak through the holes. So some of y'all are worried about the things that you have never seen. But imagine the things that we have seen. Imagine a cat transforming into a full-grown woman, standing on top of your child, breathing down on their life. Buckle up, y'all. Let's talk. When my mother was a small child in Haiti, her and a bunch of her other cousins used to live and go to school in Matissan. This is a town outside where my mother was born. Around this town, there have been talks of a witch, a loup-garou. Every night they would hear a cat walking and screaming their names on top of the roof. They could hear the cat screaming their names like Woslin, Timamoon, like literally screaming their names. And then one day my uncle got real tired of hearing this cat screaming the names of the small children in the neighborhood, calling them to come outside to literally devour them, that he said it was time to put a stop to this. I'm about to tell y'all a little bit of something. So what my mother's uncle did, which is like my great uncle too, what he did was he went outside. So he chased the cat down from the top of the roof. The cat then ran into a hole. So they could see the cat. It was a big enough hole that they could see the cat. What he did next, I already know. Those who know will hear the story and know that this is legit. He took 7 needles, the needles with the eyes, and he broke the eyes of the needles. He did what he needed to do with the needles, spoke the words that he needed to speak to the needles, and then he tossed them at the cat. They landed right between the thighs of the cat. The cat ran off, and then everybody went back to bed. Now comes the morning, and they are hearing screams coming from the house of a neighbor, a little girl who said that her mother went to sleep perfectly fine, and she woke up the next morning with her leg broken. She said she has no idea how her mother's leg became broken in the middle of the night. There was already talk about her mother, but now she had no choice but to believe all of the things that they said about her mother was actually true, and that her mother was in fact a witch, a loup-garou, who would go in the middle of the night, transform into different animals, especially cats, and go and attack other people's children. Now I know y'all ready for this one. We're not going to use any names to be respectful, but in 2017 or so, my mother had this girl who came to live with us. She was amazing. She was clean. She was helpful. She was funny. Her and I actually became best friends. A lot of conversations about the mystical world, and we told each other a lot of stories, so it was a great time. She really became like family. So eventually her mother came down to help my mom while she was in Haiti. We used to go down to Haiti every year. My mother and father practically lived there. During this time, my late sister has just given birth. Fast forward, one night, everybody was asleep. And my mother, no matter what kind of spell or enchantment or whatever you put on her, when something is happening in the middle of the night, my mother is the first one to wake up. And of course, as a high priestess, not much get past us. My mother woke up in the middle of the night and heard the screeching and noises of a cat. She tried to wake up my father, who was laying right next to her, and he would not wake up. So she knew right away there was a witch in the house, and everybody else was under a spell, a sleeping spell. So she got up very quietly and went to investigate. And child, she said the first thing she did was go over to the small sleeping baby and saw a black cat breathing down the child's fucking life force. My mother, being the gangster that she is, she's like, no. She start cursing and praying and rushing over to that cat, getting ready to snatch that mother off of that child. But off goes the cat, straight under the bed. And then my mom is like, nah, I can see you. I can see that light in your And if you know, you know. She's like, I can see you. And let me tell you, she said, I see, and I know that's your skin under the bed. And she said she could see the cat just transforming and just turning and trying to reach back into its human skin. Y'all, she could see the skin and the cat just transforming and trying to get back into its human skin. Hello? Sure enough, after a while, you know who's under that bed in the darkness? Yeah, that woman that came to live with us. I told my mom that you guys wanted to hear stories about witches, and she left me 2 voice messages, and I listened to them today. It's not funny, but y'all listen to this. I'm gonna play it in Creole just a little bit, and then I'm gonna translate it for you guys in English.
Lugar wa soukati men lugar wa kon marcher dans même l'église avec nous. Même l'église nous marcher soukati. Et puis kounya la même depuis lugar où rentre dans.
By the way, y'all, I'm making these cute little skull earrings. She said that back in the day, when they used to go to church, there was this witch. One morning, they came to church on Sunday, and the pastor, and they're a really good, genuine pastor with real serious power in Haiti. I can't speak for anywhere else, but I know in Haiti, they be some real godly people. So the pastor goes, I know that there are some people who come to church that are witches. On Saturday, y'all fly and y'all go do all of these evil acts. And then on Sunday, y'all come to church trying to pretend like y'all righteous, like y'all good people. But I know exactly what you are, and I can see through you. And I'm warning you right now, when it comes time to receive communion, if you come in and you get communion, I promise you that it will be stuck in your throat. I know how it is, right? People just be like, they bluffing, they kidding, ain't no way. Ain't no way. You know, the time comes, it's time to get up to receive communion. Why this lady know that she's a witch, a loup-garou, and she really walked up and got communion? Bro, sure enough, just like the pastor said, the thing got stuck in her throat and she couldn't talk anymore. She literally became mute. So then her daughter comes back. And remember, witches, most of the time, they will have children. Her daughter comes with her, and her daughter says to the pastor, like, can you please undo whatever it is that you did to my mother? She has been mute. She can't talk ever since she went up to get communion. She's not able to verbally communicate. The pastor just looked at her and said, you knew what you were, and I gave you a fair warning. I told you that if you come up and receive communion, what was going to happen to you, and you didn't heed my warning. What is done, and it cannot be undone. Now deceased, this woman spent the rest of her life mute. Y'all, I seen some creepy shit too. Here's the second story. Another witch story.
There
was a man. Let me just tell out the story in English without the voiceover. So there was a married couple who hired a maid to help around the household. The woman flew to America. Soon after, the maid and the husband became intimate. They started to sleep with each other. Every night they slept together. Again, when witches get up in the middle of the night to go do their little deed, if they are with a man, if they have children in the house who don't know of their true nature, what they will do is put them under a sleeping spell, an enchantment. I will not tell you how you can know if a witch has put an enchantment spell on you, because I know what happens when you say certain things on this app. But if I was to give you guys a hint, it would be to check under your pillows. Now, one night, the spell was weaker than usual, so the man woke up in the middle of the night and noticed his girl wasn't by his side. He became very worried. All kinds of questions were running through his head, like, where did she go? Is she with somebody else? So he waited up for her to come back home, and then all of a sudden he heard a strange noise. So he stepped outside, and all he saw was a big smoke. And in the smoke, what was descending down to the ground? A big old fucking turkey. When it landed and touched the ground, there stood his mistress. The man, in utter shock, asked her, honey, where have you been? And she has the audacity to respond, oh, I've been around. I haven't really been far. My dude said, oh, okay. You wasn't far. All right, now I see exactly what you are. Still shocked, baffled, and confused, but he understood and ended the relationship and sent her packing. Part 2 of my mother catching a witch trying to eat our niece. In part 1, I explained how my mother found this cat and then it transformed into a woman trying to eat my niece. So after the black cat had completely transformed back into a woman, her original form, my mother told her to her face, "You're gonna go." She woke up my father and the rest of the household and told them what happened. And that night, obviously, nobody slept. Here comes morning, and this woman has the audacity to still be around. She's standing around like, no, I'm not leaving, I'm not leaving, I'm not leaving. By then, obviously, the other people of the village already heard what happened. So everybody's kind of like marching up with their pitchforks and torches, ready to flame her ass, because they was not gonna have that. But my mother's like, no, we can't do that because we don't know where she's from and what other family she got behind her. So we just need to send her off. We already know who she is. Everybody knows who she is. So we need to send her off. But she has the audacity to say that she's not going nowhere. She like it here. The men give her attention here, and she's not going nowhere. My mother's like, oh yeah? You not going? You think you're not going? Okay. All of a sudden, this woman gets mounted. This woman really got mounted by a spirit. And my mother was like, who is this? Who is this spirit? And she's moaning and groaning like, I am the. Child, my mother's like, who are you? Tonton, I don't recognize this spirit. I don't know this spirit. This woman is flexing and everything, thinking like she's the shit. Like, you don't know where you at, lady? Like I said, my mother's a gangster. So my mother was like, well, Tonton, whatever the fuck your name is, you gonna have to go, or I'm gonna have to call that angry mob back for you with their pitchforks and torches. The daughter is just fuming because she never knew, and she's like, oh, hell no. I can't believe my mother's a this and this and that. I could just do it right now. Of course, there are people who doubt whether it's true or not if the daughter already knew what her mother was. But her mother explained to her, it's because of you. It's because I was poor. I couldn't feed you guys. Your father wasn't taking care of y'all. I had to do what I had to do to protect you guys. There were other witches in their village who actually threatened to to eat her children. So she said she would fight fire with fire. If she couldn't have them stop from attacking her children, she would become one of them to protect her children. My mother's just like, that's all good and all, but you can take all that back to where you came from. She really did not know who she was messing with because she was not trying to leave. She most definitely is gonna learn. So she's just sitting down and all of a sudden she's like, it's hot. I'm hot. What's going on? It's hot. Girl, she's calling my mother a monster. She's like, I don't know what kind of a power you have over me. What kind of fire you've unleashing on me. But I'm hot. I'm burning. Whew, I can't stay. Like, this woman is scratching her skin. It's just hysterical. Like, my mother is just chilling. Like, you hot? You hot now? You think you hot now? She's just going crazy, like, put water on me, throw water on me, I'm hot, I'm too hot, I gotta go. And yes, absolutely, she was sent packing and never to be seen again. Imagine that you are getting the best deal of your life for an act like that where they would, and you really want to tussle? As we Haitians like to say, yo te pense P.I. Ay, bobo. It's time for another one of my mom's witch stories in Haiti. Let's get right into it. At some point of her life, my mother used to live in the capital, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. She was neighbors with a woman who was very best friends with this other woman. They did everything together. They sold their merchandise at the open markets together. They were inseparable. They became so close to the point where the neighbor had given the friend to baptize her child. The neighbor had a beautiful girl. She was healthy. She was her pride and joy. She would bathe her and dress her like a little doll. The house that my mother used to live at was very close to this neighbor, so they can kind of see what's going on in their yard. One day, the friend came to visit the neighbor. She picked up the child, she smelled her, she embraced her. The mother observed something that she knew was very strange due to our spiritual background. The friend picked up the baby girl, lifted her up 3 times as if she was weighing her. She looked at her and complimented her. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful, healthy child you are. He complimented her over and over and over again. Wow, what a beautiful godchild I have. God has blessed me. Wow, you're so healthy and beautiful. Her child became sick with a fever and a cold. And at first, they thought nothing of it. Must just be a fever and a cold, which is normal for children. A few days went by and the child was still sick. One day, the friend came by the neighbor's house 3 in the morning, and she snuck over and pulled the sleeping child from under her sleeping mother. Witches are known to cast spells and enchantments to keep people asleep when they're doing these acts in the middle of the night. She removed the soul from the child's body, and the child became lifeless. My mother and her cousins, whose chores it is and habits to wake up very early in the morning to perform their chores before they get dressed and go to school. This wasn't unusual for children in Haiti, especially around that time. My mother, being a curious child, heard a commotion and went to peek through the holes into the neighbor's yard. They saw and heard the friend with the neighbor's child holding the child upside down, dangling her and saying, "My child, I love you very much, but I cannot do you this favor. I must do what I must. Unfortunately, you are already gone. I have already did the deed. I will turn you into a big old fish and eat you. I love you so much, I just could not leave you." The child still dangling in her hand, she slapped her bottom 3 times and poof, just turned her into an actual fish. My mother said when she saw that, that was like something she's never seen before. They both ran inside the house, frightened and terrified, and they just could not speak. There are indeed beautiful things, mysterious things in the world, but never ever sleep on the evil things that people will do. Imagine finding out that your best friend is a witch and her true intentions were to eat your child. Ay, boo boo. Story time. There once was a woman who had a daughter and a best friend that she trusted with everything. One day her daughter was sick and doctors couldn't explain why because of the strange things happening in their home, such as a cat on their roof that would not stop screaming and yelling and meowing throughout the night. It was exactly around the time she started to hear the cat's meows and screaming and groaning and moaning that her daughter felt ill. Desperate for answers and a way to help her sick child, she went out to seek a boko, a type of Haitian voodoo priest. Her best friend then replied, "I think you're being ridiculous to go and seek out answers from a boko. Your child has a fever. It's nothing serious. Do not worry about it." A mother's intuition and a mother's will to help her child is always strong and genuine. So she took the trip anyways. She met with the boko. The boko performed a reading and also gave her the identity of the person who is sucking the life force out of her daughter dry. She believed the boko as he was a trusted source and went back home and prepared a machete, sharpened and ready. It is now night and approaching 6 a.m. And just as if the creature knew that it is running out of time to make its move on this woman's daughter, it came in the form of a black cat. The cat, of course, quietly snuck into the home. The mother, who was pretending to be asleep with her machete sharpened, waited for the cat to drop its guard. She came from behind, wielding her machete, and up jumps the cat into the corner. Just like that, it transformed into none other but her best friend. Shocked and surprised, she yelled at her, "What are you doing with that machete? What were you going to do? I thought we were best friends. Why would you do that to me?" The mother, disgusted by the fact that she even had such audacity, and told her firmly, "I was going to cut off the head of that cat. I didn't know you to be a cat. I thought you were human. I didn't know you were a cat. I had no intentions in cutting the head of any humans, but I just watched you transform from a cat back into yourself. So it was you who was sucking my daughter dry." So naturally, she put her best friend out of the house. But she wasn't done yet.